Hi, I'm Betsy Corcoran. I am CEO and founder of EdSurge. We're a little startup in Silicon Valley, and we write about education and technology. We love sharing stories about the very amazing things that kids and teachers are doing all over the country. And I'm really thrilled to be here today with teachers and with kids to share some of these stories. We just finished hearing the president talk about a new initiative which aims to get really fantastic bandwidth to virtually every school in the United States. And I'd like to start off by briefly introducing James Kvaal, who's Deputy Director of the Domestic Policy Council. James, can you take a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit more about what the President's initiative is hopefully going to mean for schools all around America?
Thanks, Betsy. It's really a pleasure to be here today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with some of the teachers and students that really use this technology, and I think we can learn a lot about the potential it has to improve teaching and learning. As you mentioned, the President was just in Mooresville, North Carolina, where he just finished his remarks minutes ago, and he's outlined a new proposal which he calls Connect Ed. And the goal of this initiative would be to connect every school and library in the country or serving 99% of students to high-speed broadband within 5 years. And the reason to do that is that we know that high-speed internet access opens up a whole new world when it comes to teaching and learning, and when it comes to new software applications that lets teachers, let students move ahead at their own pace, lets teachers figure out what concepts the class is struggling with, and they can provide individualized attention. They can focus their time on the areas where students really need help. It also has great potential to connect classrooms with the rest of the world, opening up resources like museums and libraries and other classes and experts, no matter how far away that they are. So we know that the future of learning is likely to be increasingly digital. This is something that some other countries are doing. Singapore and South Korea are far along in this process. And the President believes that we need to make this investment of hooking up high-speed broadband to all of our schools to open up these new era of possibilities. So specifically what he's done is he's asked the Federal Communications Commission to look at the possibility of what it would take to provide these resources to meet these goals. He is asking the Secretary of Education to help make sure that teachers have access to the expertise they need to use education technology effectively. And of course, there's going to be an important role for the private sector too, for companies and for nonprofits to develop the high quality equipment and high quality software to help students and teachers make the most of these resources. So that's the concept, and I'm really excited about today's conversation about learning more about these three schools, which are some of the best in the country when it comes to using education technology.
Terrific. Thank you very much, James. And we want James to stick around because, as I've mentioned to all of the teachers and kids here, we want to talk about the cool things they're doing, and we want to talk about the things they'd like to do. So we want the White House to stick around and hear what the kids really want to see coming out of the government support for technology in the schools. So let's kind of jump into it. We have three terrific schools here, and I'd like to start by taking a moment to introduce each of the classes. First, we have Chapel Elementary School in Green Bay, Wisconsin, home of the Chapel. Excellent. And they have with them their teachers Marie Sauvé and Kelly Schwerda, and the fifth grade class there. So welcome.
Thank you. We're so proud to be here with you.
Terrific. We also have here the Science Leadership Academy in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Excellent. This is a great high school, and we have Marcy Hull, who's the technology coordinator and a teacher with the high school there.
And my principal, Christopher Lehman.
And the principal. Excellent. Terrific. And we also have Loris Elementary School in Loris, South Carolina, the Loris Lions. Excellent. Who are spending their very last day of school with us today. So we super appreciate the fact that you guys are not bolting out of the classroom, but sharing some time with us before you go. And they have with them Cynthia Ambrose, who's the Chief Academic Officer, Mark Porter, who's the principal, and Miss Ashley Arthur, who is a teacher of the 4th and 5th grade there. So in fact, I'm going to start with Loris. I'd love to hear from some of the students about a couple of projects that you've been doing this year. Ms. Arthur, can you introduce a couple of your students and have them tell us a little bit about what they've been doing?
This is Ashton, and she's going to introduce a project we did with a book, and also Malik, he's going to introduce a project we did with Glogster.
Tell us a little bit.
We created a book called A Bottle's Journey. Out of 1,000 entries, our book was picked for honorable mention and to be published. We had to go on a field trip, and we went to the beach. We used our iPads and took photos of some things that we could create the photos with for the book. We went on Microsoft Office and typed our sentences and what we needed for the book to really stand out.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to reading that book. Nice. Very nice. And the second project that you wanted to share with us?
I got on Glogster and did a project on the civil rights movement. I went to Google to look up information on all the people who had hard times during the civil rights movement, and I took some pictures and inserted it into my Glogster and wrote down what it was about and what a hard time that they did.
Mm-hmm. And now Glogster is an application that lets you put pictures and some sound and some drawings and things like that in there. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. What was the most unusual sort of thing, either a picture or a sound or element that you wound up putting into your Glogster portrait of the civil rights?
I didn't put that many weird things, but if I'd have to do if the weirdest thing that I would put in there was how many people got put in jail and stuff like that.
That's a pretty powerful lesson. Thank you very much. Moving over to the Science Academy in Philadelphia. Share some of the projects that you guys have been doing. I understand that you've got some aspiring playwrights there.
We do. We have a couple of folks who are going to talk to you. We've got first is Wynn and Morgan, and then we've got two seniors who are going to talk about capstone. So why don't you kick us off?
All right. Hi. As Mr. Lehman said, my name is Wynn Geary. Our school has an internship program that happens throughout the year, and this year I worked to build myself a website. I'm an aspiring graphic designer, so I built myself a website using Adobe Muse and other Creative Suite applications, and I've built myself a web portfolio that I can now use to show off my work.
Nice.
Okay. Well, last year we had physics in junior year, so what we did was all of us students catch public transportation. So we used a really, what we did was we took a bus or a train or anything like that, and we calculated the acceleration and the velocity using our laptops in an application called Logger Pro. This was really good for us because a lot of us do catch public transportation, so it was great to see that real world application in the classroom and also using the technology at the same time.
Cool.
So my name is Manna, and I was the aspiring playwright that you were talking about. And so for my capstone, which is something that involves the entire community, I took some students and we created a play together that was a combination of things on stage, but also things online as well. So we were videotaping the entire process, and we actually built a portfolio for each one of the students and myself that's now up online on a website. And using the camera and the website, we now have sort of a reputation around the city because of what they put up on stage and what we created together.
That's very cool. What year are you?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior. And are you thinking of going further with some of that work, or what are you going to do next year?
Next year I'm actually going to American University for Film and Media Arts and Theater. So I'm going to be taking my playwriting and screenwriting experience and taking that further in college and hopefully bringing it out to a larger audience than just the Philadelphia community.
Fantastic. Great. And finally, at Chapel Elementary, tell us a little bit about some of the work that you guys have been doing.
Well, we recently just were accredited as an international baccalaureate
primary, intermediate, primary years programs. So part of that is to cover 6 transdisciplinary themes. One is about how there are equal opportunities around the world. So the 5th graders did a whole study on human rights, and this is Ava and Isaac, and they're going to show you how they use that knowledge to create some projects. So Ava, you want to start?
Sure. I did an action plan, and I wanted to do my action, so I started studying about Sudan, and I wanted to help build a well. So me and 2 of my friends went on the computer and we searched how much it would cost to get a booth at Celebrate the Pier. We contacted the guy and he said we could have a booth there. So we went on the computer and we planned out games and stuff we could do at our booth. So we went there and we raised over $500 to build a well.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
My class, we had to research a human rights concern. I chose what companies use child labor because I wanted to know if I was using anything that had child labor. And I found out Hershey's actually uses child labor where they get their chocolate.
Uh-oh. Did you stop eating Hershey bars then?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty serious, but that's also a really important piece of information. What's so amazing about all of the projects that you guys are describing is how real they are. They're not pretend projects. They're not something that somebody wrote in a book and doesn't connect to your lives. They're really all about, taking the bus or learning about, what goes into the chocolate bar or finding out what's on our beaches. So these are really astounding and relevant projects. Now I'm going to ask you a hard question, which is, so what was hard about these projects for you? Was there something about one of these projects? Everybody has some element of a project that's a little difficult. Could you share with us a little bit about, was there something that was extra hard for you in doing any of these projects? Or some of the other projects that maybe some of your colleagues have done too? This is kind of an open question. How about folks in Philadelphia? I bet you guys have had some real interesting experiences in the work that you've been doing.
Well, for my project, I ended up making a video game and doing all the aspects, including the modeling and the programming. And one of the hardest things that I found is no one else in the school really knew about it. I learned how to do it in a process over the summer at a camp I was at. So whenever I didn't know how to do something and needed help, I always had to use the internet to find tutorials or videos that would show me how to do things.
Right, that's fantastic. I mean, using the internet to kind of reach out to other people when you don't have experts sort of sitting right in your pocket is a really great way to use it. Someone else want to jump in there?
We will in chapel. Okay, Ava, what was something that was frustrating for you?
Something that was frustrating for me was learning about all of these problems because it's hard to know that all of the stuff I have and some people don't have, like clean water, or people are being used for child labor and stuff like that.
Right, so that's really interesting too, is that when I was a kid growing up, I sort of knew what was going on in my immediate neighborhood, but I wouldn't have really had a clue what was going on even in South Carolina or certainly not in Sudan, other than, maybe some watching a news broadcast or something like that. Great. Ed Loris, Miss Arthur, what did your students find particularly challenging or interesting about the work that they were working on?
Our students have a hard time because they can't take their devices home, so they're unable to finish their projects they start in class at home.
Great. So that is a challenge, and I wonder whether some of the other students could share how much you wind up working on some of these projects at home or after school versus how much time you actually spend doing them in school.
We can talk about that here in Philly.
Yeah, please.
I'll field that.
I'm a part of a program we have here at SLA called Rough Cut Productions, which is a film production company. And we work on covering live events and producing our own short films. And a lot of products that we complete are done in class. But if you don't spend a lot of time outside of class working on it, your project won't be very good. A kind of unspoken rule that we have is spending more time outside of school than you do in school. So we definitely understand your struggle with not being able to finish things in allotted class time.
That's really interesting. Folks at Chapel, in school, out of school, combination?
This year, I have about 70% of my students do not have access to the internet at home, but Isaac is going to share what happens when they get to go to the middle schools in Green Bay.
When we go to 6th grade, we're going to be able to have a netbook, so when we can take it home. So if we need to work on any projects that we didn't finish, we'll be able to finish it at home.
So every 6th grader and 9th grader in the district has the opportunity to get their own netbook to bring home so that they can work on their projects at school and at home and not just being restricted here during our 6-7 hours.
That's great. So one question that I have, because I'm a parent and sometimes my kids go online and they spend a lot of time looking at YouTube videos. How many of you guys like to watch videos on YouTube? Fess up. Okay. So let's say you go to middle school or you've got a chance to bring the computer home. Are you going to be able, how much are you going to spend just kind of watching YouTube videos and playing games versus asking some of these really deep questions that you're asking? Maybe the folks in Philadelphia, you guys are kind of a little older, you've been down this path a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how do you balance that time? How do you figure out, okay, I can spend some fun time, but maybe some serious time?
Here in Philadelphia at SLA, we always have access to computers. Cell phones are allowed in school, iPads are allowed in school. So I think in school, teachers and the staff have taught us to have that equal balance between doing your work and having fun. I mean, it's not bad to have fun and watch a funny cat video on YouTube every once in a while, but I mean, when it comes to taking it home, we all take our laptops home all the time, and here at SLA, we've had access to everything, so it's not like we take home our laptop, all of a sudden I have a laptop, I have access to internet, I always have to use it for something fun that I don't get to use it at school. At school, we have the opportunity to use it for fun, we have the opportunity and we have the freedom to use it. So I feel like if more schools would have the freedom to give these kind of devices and gadgets to their students all the time, we wouldn't I guess have this problem to be distracted for Facebook or for Twitter, even though those can also be used for educational purposes as well.
Great point. Either of the elementary schools, would you guys like to weigh in on that? It's sometimes a challenge.
We would.
Yeah.
Well, I take extracurricular activities along with my schoolwork. I play softball and I have to focus on my schoolwork as well. At the end of the year, we take standardized tests, and during my softball season, unfortunately, that is when we have our standardized test. But I sometimes have to just give up some stuff for stuff that are more important in schoolwork and that mean more to me than, because I'll always be able to play the game, but I need to pass my grades and do a very good job in school.
Good for you. That's absolutely right. Talk a little bit about, there are different ways of learning. Sometimes you can learn by reading a book. Sometimes you can learn by doing a project. Sometimes you can learn by listening to your teacher. I'd love to hear from you guys as you think about the things you really learned this year in school. What helped you learn the most?
We can answer from Chapel.
Go for it.
Go ahead, Isaac. What helped you learn the most?
The technology and how we don't, like I said earlier, we don't just do a report and we're done with it. We have to do multiple things and dig deeper into our things and kind of challenge ourselves.
One of the things we talk about as part of the International Baccalaureate program is balance with the kids, and I think that we try to maintain that here, that not everything is technology and not everything is books.
Great point.
We're happy to talk about that here in Philadelphia as well.
Forrest has an answer.
Okay, let's go Philadelphia and then Loris.
Who wants to grab it? More?
Well, here in Science Leadership Academy, the way we learn, we're a project-based school, and we have 5 core values that are inquiry, research, collaboration, presentation, and reflection. And we use all of those core values in everything that we do. So it's really, a transient property throughout all of our classrooms, and it's something that we do in everything. So it really makes it easy for us to stick to our core values and learn very well.
Great. Okay. And Loris?
We have a program at our school called Purpose Learning, and we use it at school and at home. So if I'm during the day and it's time to leave and go home, I can go out the activity and finish it when I get home. And I can do anything on there that I choose to do to work on at home.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to wave a magic wand. This one's an evil magic wand, and I'm going to have a great magic wand at the end. My evil magic wand said, okay, what if I took away all of the computers? I'm going to wipe out the computers. I'm going to wipe out the cell phones. I'm going to wipe out the smartphones. What would school mean to you at that point? Philadelphia, I'm going to draw on you first. I know it's a tricky question.
Who wants it? Oh, go ahead, Beth.
Well, that would be really bad for me because I want to be a computer scientist. So everything I do is basically on the computer. I'm coding, I'm modeling, I'm always doing something on a computer. So there's no way I would be able to do what I want to do without a computer at all.
Okay. Anybody else want to jump in there?
Loris.
Chapel? Or Loris?
If my teacher came in the classroom and my principal and they told me we have to get rid of all of our electronic devices, no more iPads, no more computers, they would have to call the emergency room because I'd be passed out on the floor. Because I feel like we need technology in the classroom. What can you do without technology anymore? We have iPads and we can get on the educational apps. We get on the computer and get on Compass Learning and Achieve 3000. We need electronics in our lives because I just think it makes the world more interesting.
Fair point. Okay. Chapel?
We could use books and dig deeper in the text to find what we're looking for because we don't need to completely rely on electronics to find all of our answers.
Absolutely true. You can't rely on electronics to find all the answers. That's a very fair point.
And Betsy, I don't know, we've got another student who'd love to jump in for just a second.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so one of the great things about SLA is that we actually learn how to learn. So Morgan brought up our core values, and definitely that's a big part of what we do here at SLA. But we recognize that we have teachers around us, and we also have students who are experts in almost everything that they do. And if they aren't, then they know where to go ask to find those questions. And it's not always online where you need to go. Sometimes it's going out to the library. Sometimes it's going to find another person. And what's really cool is we've learned how to be resourceful so that we're not depending on the technology that we have, because sometimes technology can be annoying and sometimes it just doesn't work. And you have to work with people because people came first, technology came second. So sometimes you have to get back to basics.
That is an excellent, excellent point. We have a joke in Silicon Valley that when people show a movie in Silicon Valley, they turn on the movie theater, they turn on the movie projector, and everyone turns around and looks at the technology. Sometimes you're not supposed to focus on the technology. You should focus on the movie, what's in front of you. Okay, now I promised you my good magic wand, so here's my good magic wand. If you guys could have a magic wand and do one thing, have one new thing in your school that would really help, something that would solve a problem, that would make it easier for you to learn, what would that be? And like I said, remember, we've got the White House listening here, so make it good.
Over in Philadelphia, we have an answer.
Absolutely. Go for it, Philly.
Right now in Philadelphia, there's something called the Doomsday Budget, which a lot of people in Philadelphia know about. It's this $300 million gap that is occurring, that it's cutting sports, it's cutting teachers, counselors, secretaries, extracurricular activities. So if you could wave your magic wand and get us a lot more funding, that'd be very nice.
All right. More funding for the Doomsday Project. Good.
budget.
Chapel or Loris? Loris, jump in.
We would just like to have devices in every student's hand to be able to take home back and forth from school to home to have that connection, and also wireless at the homes.
Wireless at the homes.
Better broadband at school.
And broadband at school. All right. Well, that's what our president is talking about. Fantastic.
And that's what the students here said the same thing at Chapel.
Same thing.
Same thing, having the device at home and the Wi-Fi available.
That's great. So one question, I've been watching our Twitter feed here, and you've got some great fans out there, folks. Say hello to everybody out there in Tweetland, because they are loving what you're saying. They're giving you great shout outs for all of the work that you're doing and the projects you're doing. I guess one last question that's kind of evolving out of the tweets is, so do you wind up using the computers to take tests very much? Do you feel that, are the computers adding more to your testing, or are they lightening the burden of testing?
We got an answer in Philadelphia.
All right, Philly, go for it.
As Morgan said earlier, we're a project-based school, so we really work to do all of our projects and stuff using technology, but we really don't find ourselves taking tests very often.
You don't find, so just elaborate on that point for a minute. You're not taking tests, so how do your teachers know what you know?
So because we're project-based, these projects are an example of what we're learning. And what's really cool is you get something different from every student, and every student has their own individual understanding that they personally own. So it represents what they've learned better. So each student has some sort of confidence in what they're doing. And because we're not taking tests, it's not just repeating everything that you learn in a textbook. I'm learning something totally different than what Morgan's learning, and we have our own understandings, and we can present that in different ways, and it gives the student more ownership so that they have more confidence and that they feel in charge of their education and their learning. And it's not just a teacher standing in front of the classroom lecturing at you, because that's not something that happens at SLA at all.
Fantastic. Chapel or Loris?
Loris.
Loris?
The computers help because we get immediate feedback on what the students are learning, so we can differentiate better with the computers and teach them what individually they need to know. So it lessens the workload for teachers because we can teach on their individual level after they test, and we get immediate feedback.
Makes a huge difference. And Chapel?
We do more projects than tests on the computer, so we can dig deeper with our projects.
Fantastic. Great. James, I don't know if you want to have a final word here, because we have heard people say what they need in schools. They need to have access, then they need to have access not just in schools, but at home too, and funding for some of these amazing projects that they're working on. Can you take that message back to the president for us?
Thank you, Betsy. Well, I think he's working very hard on it, and of course his announcement today is about getting high-speed broadband access to schools, and it's also about trying to make sure that devices are more affordable. Those costs are coming down, and within a couple of years, those devices should be as affordable as what most schools spend on textbooks now. I really appreciated the conversation. I think I learned a lot about how this technology is used in opening up new opportunities. I heard a lot about how this technology is used in project-based learning and gives some people a context for what they're learning. I remember when I was in school, questions were often, why are we learning this? Or, the material seemed disconnected with life, and it was difficult to motivate students. And so I think that is one real exciting application of technology. Of course, another part of it is the additional feedback to teachers. One question, if I could ask before we go, a couple of people mentioned as a major obstacle the difficulty of continuing work at home. People don't have computers at home, they don't have internet access at home. I was wondering, in terms of school policies that are limiting computers to their schools, is that primarily a resource issue, or are there other reasons for that? And if there were plenty of computers to take home, would people be able to do their work on their computers at home, or is it still a problem that people need internet access as well?
You answer that.
I'd love to talk about that. So
I think both. It's both resource and internet access at home.
Billy?
So I think for us, we've been a one-to-one laptop school since we opened 7 years ago. Our students take their devices home every night, and the School District of Philadelphia does an incredible job with their broadband connections in school. So we open at 7 in the morning and we close at 6 o'clock at night to make sure that kids have the time to do their work. But really, what we want to do is make sure that the tools that the kids need are always in their hands. You know, it's why one-to-one is so important. It's why that the kids need ownership of their device is so important, because anything else, and we are not really giving them the tools when they need to do the work that they do. If home and school do not have that seamless connectivity, both online and with the device, then what you are doing is you are telling kids that learning only happens in one space. And what we want to see is that kids believe that their learning is a seamless and fluid part of their lives all of the time. And that's why it's so important that they can take it home, why it's so important that more companies like Comcast develop low-cost, high-speed internet for economically challenged kids. And it's why it's so important that what the president said today, we really make sure that every school in America can be as powerfully wired as the schools in the School District of Philadelphia.
Terrific. Chapel, do you want to add anything there?
We've been very fortunate. We've been a one-to-one laptop program from 2nd grade through 5th grade for about 4 years now. And the kids really do get that seamlessness between grade levels with our scope and sequence on what's expected in the technology. And in some ways, it grows a little faster than what their families have access to. So that opportunity to be able to carry that device home with that wireless card so that they can use it at home and access what they've started during the day would be so beneficial for our kids. And that really is, especially as they get to those older grades, and having my own daughters who have gone through high school, you just need time to do a lot of the projects. You need time to do the research and really sift through the information. So the more, it really comes down for us as a financial issue, is that can we afford to buy them where the kids can take them home also.
Terrific. Well, first I want to thank everyone on behalf of, I think all the people who are watching this Hangout and who are going to watch this Hangout, because it will stay online. Again, I really encourage you to go take a look at the tweets. You're getting total shout outs here. People are saying things like, please let all of the students know how inspiring you are, not just to other students, but to teachers. I think this is what education really, what we all want education to be about. We want it to be about learning, about finding joy in learning, and about finding out new stuff. We're pretty excited to hear about that Hershey stuff. That may be a big headline, So we've learned some fantastic things today. Again, at EdSurge, we write about education and technology. We'd love to be writing about what you guys are doing all the time, so I think I'll be in touch with all of you. And I would like to say on behalf of the White House, which I don't get to say that very frequently, but on behalf of the White House
You
and
do
the
it very
President
well.
of the United States, I would like to thank you all for taking part in this Google Hangout and encourage you to keep on exploring and learning and having an amazing time. Thank you very much. I'm Betsy Corcoran of EdSurge with some amazing students from Philadelphia, students from Laurie, from Chapel. Big shout out, everybody. Thank you so much. Good night.